The sky erupted without warning. Crimson and gold streaked across the heavens, a violent symphony of light that set steel towers ablaze and cast long, trembling shadows over the monuments of ambition. In that sudden brilliance, the nation itself seemed to shiver. Power is never abstract. It is a living, breathing force, capable of creation and destruction in equal measure. And for those who wield it, the consequences are intimate, personal, and inescapable. This is the shadow that follows greatness, not the shadow of failure, but the shadow of responsibility, the weight of choices that can shape or fracture the destiny of millions. Power is seductive. It whispers promises of triumph, intoxicates with influence, and lures even the noblest hearts toward compromise. And yet, history teaches that the measure of a nation, or a person, is not the power they amass, but the wisdom with which they bear it. The United States, from its first breath, has been a theater of this struggle, a land where the lure of authority and the imperative of conscience have danced in eternal tension. To govern, to lead, to hold sway over the lives of others, is to enter a crucible from which few emerge unscarred. From the earliest days of the Republic, the Founding Fathers knew the perils of unchecked ambition. In dimly lit chambers by candlelight, they debated liberty and order, justice and expedience, weighing ideals against the pragmatics of a fragile union. Their vision was audacious, a nation that could wield influence with principle, a society that could balance freedom with responsibility. Yet, even as they codified the aspirations of a continent into documents that would endure for centuries, they wrestled with contradictions. Slavery, inequality, exclusion. They were shadows lurking behind the brightest ideals, reminders that power without vigilance is a dangerous flame. Through war and peace, through industrial revolutions and social upheavals, the story of America has been written in these trials. Civil wars demanded decisions where morality and strategy clashed violently. Industrial titans reshaped the economy, elevating cities to brilliance while casting shadows over the lives of the poor and disenfranchised. Political leaders forged policies of promise, yet struggled against prejudice, fear, and inertia. The narrative of power is a double-edged sword. Every triumph carries echoes of responsibility, every innovation a moral reckoning. And it is in this shadow that greatness is tempered. True leadership is forged not in applause, but in the private struggle to make the right decision when the consequences are vast and uncertain. Every president, every general, every policymaker confronts moments where the path forward is obscured by competing obligations and the weight of conscience. To act decisively is to carry the burden of every possible outcome, the victories and the regrets alike. Power is never neutral. It defines character, exposes flaws, and tests courage in ways that history will remember. Yet the shadow of power is not confined to those in the corridors of government. It stretches across every sphere of influence. Innovators who reshape industries, educators who shape minds, activists who demand justice, artists who challenge society, they all navigate forces capable of profound impact. With influence comes responsibility. With visibility, accountability. Even in the mundane choices, what to prioritize, whom to support, which voices to amplify, there is power, and with it, the quiet, unrelenting test of conscience. Consider the leaders who faced impossible dilemmas. Presidents in moments of war, confronted with the need to sacrifice some for the security of many. Generals balancing strategy and human life. Legislators deciding policies that would ripple across generations. Their greatness is not measured by accolades, but by the discipline, humility, and moral courage required to bear the consequences of their choices. Shadows are unavoidable. The question is, how one moves within them, with integrity or without, with vision or with fear, with conscience or with convenience. The American story is deeply entwined with these dualities. Civil rights movements revealed the gaps between ideals and reality, forcing a nation to confront its failings. Women's suffrage, labor struggles, environmental advocacy, all illuminated the responsibility of power to respond ethically, to balance ambition with empathy. History is not a record of unmitigated triumph, but a chronicle of negotiation between the light of vision and the darkness of unintended consequence. Every era faces its shadows. Every generation defines the nation's response. And the shadows grow longer in the modern age. In a world connected at the speed of thought, where a single decision can affect millions across continents, the stakes of leadership are unprecedented. Technological innovation, military reach, economic influence, they offer unparalleled opportunity, but demand unprecedented vigilance. Every policy, every speech, every act is scrutinized, amplified, and sometimes distorted. Power is more visible, more immediate, and more potent than ever. The burden of conscience has never been heavier. Yet the same shadows that test leaders also illuminate the spirit of a nation. Activists, journalists, educators, citizens of every walk. These are the counterweights to the allure of unchecked authority. Their vigilance, their courage, their insistence on justice and accountability remind the powerful that influence carries obligation. In confronting shadows, the country discovers its resilience, its moral compass, and its capacity for ethical growth. Greatness is inseparable from responsibility, and responsibility is inseparable from ethical engagement. The shadow of power is not just a historical lesson, it is a personal one. Every citizen participates in shaping the moral landscape of society. Through daily choices, acts of empathy, challenges to injustice, and the cultivation of integrity, individuals contribute to a collective conscience. Democracy is not a passive inheritance. It is an ongoing exercise in stewardship, a shared acknowledgement of the weight of influence. Every act of courage or indifference ripples outward, shaping the nation's character and the legacy of its power. And in reflecting on the lives of those who have carried power, one realizes the paradox. The heavier the responsibility, the greater the potential for illumination. Shadows are not obstacles to greatness, they are markers of its depth. True leadership is not the absence of difficulty or moral compromise. It is the mastery of complexity, the willingness to confront uncertainty with courage, wisdom, and ethical clarity. History rewards not only those who achieve, but those who wrestle nobly with the shadows inherent in every choice. As the nation gazes forward, the challenge remains timeless. How will the next generation wield the authority it inherits? Will it succumb to the seductions of ambition, or rise to the ethical imperatives that power demands? The answer will not be found in monuments or medals, but in decisions made quietly, privately, and courageously. The legacy of greatness is not merely a story told, it is a story lived, in moments visible and invisible, grand and ordinary alike. The dawn finally comes, softening the crimson sky to gold, illuminating cities, fields, and mountains. The monuments of ambition glint, but the shadows remain, long, unrelenting, a reminder of the dual nature of power. To bear it wisely is not optional. It is the essence of enduring leadership. To confront the shadow with conscience is not heroic. It is necessary. And in that confrontation, in the choices made with courage, in the vigilance maintained in the face of temptation, the nation discovers its true strength. This is the covenant of power, a pact between ambition and ethics, influence and conscience. Every generation is called to navigate the tension between light and dark, to shape a future in which authority is exercised responsibly, and greatness is defined not by dominion, but by stewardship. The shadows of power are inevitable, but so too is the potential for illumination. Courage, wisdom, empathy, these are the beacons that guide a nation through the night, ensuring that greatness endures not as a fleeting glory, but as a moral legacy. In every choice, in every decision, in every act of leadership and citizenship, the weight of power is felt. And as the sunlight spreads across the land over mountains, rivers, and cities, it illuminates a simple truth. Greatness is not the absence of shadow, it is the mastery of it. The promise of the nation persists because its citizens, leaders, and visionaries confront the darkness with unwavering resolve. Shadows will always come, but so too will the courage to face them, and in that courage, the soul of the nation shines brightest. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more. Every choice, every story, every moment counts. Subscribe and share to stand with us, and don't miss the next episode of our journey.